Welcome back everyone to more of our custom career mode and VR gameplay. We're coming off of our best race of the season, and it could not have come at a better time and a better track. Martinsville Speedway, our special event number 2 on the calendar, which means the payout was greatly enhanced over what we get in our normal events. You could see a top 10 at Iowa. Our very first top 10 got us $3,500. An 8th place finish at a premier event got us almost $20,000. So yeah, we want to do as well as we possibly can at the premier events. So 8th place finish, then we move over to the incidents. We did have a total of 4 incidents for some contact, and if you guys remember that, going into the corner was some major contact that we had. So a total of 4 incident points. I double that. That brings us to 8. And then our sponsor money along with our bonus money ends up with a very nice event at Martinsville. Now, if we come over to the classifieds, just as a reminder, we're currently sitting at 121,000 right now. Our very first goal is 252,000 because that would give us our introduction into the truck series. It would essentially, the way I want to do this is give us a single chassis that we could choose. It could be a road course chassis, downforce chassis for the bigger tracks, short track, you name it. We can do this however we want, but I'm kind of thinking a downforce chassis that will run at mile and bigger tracks. And that will give us some experience in the truck series, get us on the road of earning some money and so forth. That, I think, is going to be the way to go, and we are nearly halfway to that goal. Now, also, I want to point out a couple of changes and some things that we're going to be testing in today's video. The first change is, you notice this is no longer Darlington here, and I'm sure some of you have noticed that long ago. But for some reason, I had it in my head that Darlington was available with the AI in iRacing. I just had it stuck in there for some reason. That's why I put it on the schedule. That is not the case, at least not at the time of this recording. So I've replaced Darlington on the schedule with Langley, which is very unfortunate because I was greatly looking forward to running Darlington. But Langley, a very short, compact track, it's going to be a lot of traffic very quickly. In that respect, it's going to be very similar to Lanier. Fortunately for us, Lanier turned out to be a very fun race. Tight corridors, we had some contact, but overall the AI behavior was very fun. If it's similar at Langley, then we're in for a nice event. After that, we head to Richmond and then Southern National, which leads me into the second change that you've probably already noticed here on the schedule. Previously, we had the first 15 events lined up, ending with the Nashville Fairgrounds in our third and final premier event of the season. But now I have changed that. I've simply copied down the first 15 once again because I decided to simply use 2020 as one long season. We're going to simply run as many of these races in the super late until we have enough money to purchase our very first truck ride. And so that just will keep things simple with the super lates. And again, we can make this season as long as we want. It doesn't have to just be 35. It can end up being 28 if we want it to be, or it can be 45 if we want it to be. And that is the fun of everything in a custom career mode such as this, particularly when you have a spreadsheet as robust and detailed as this one. So we're simply going to run as many races as we would like until we get the money that we need. So this is the way it lines up for the foreseeable future. Also, keep in mind that once we hit race 16 and restart our tracks, I'll be reducing the AI skill spread. We've been using 60 to 95 on most of these tracks. And of course, it's changed a little bit. It was actually higher than that for South Boston when we got started, which might explain a little bit of our finish here. But we started out higher. I have reduced it some as we've gone along, and we find a much better balance because I didn't want us to start off our career mode running right up front, winning races, top 3s, top 5s. I wanted us to start in the middle of the pack to the back of the pack, and I think that has, for the most part, worked out very well. We've gotten a lot of the middle of the pack type finishes with a few in the back of the field as well. So I think it's worked out very well to begin our career. But once we hit race 16, I'm going to be lowering that max from 95 to, well, we'll just have to see. I've got some ideas in mind that I want to test out a little bit before we get there. But I'm starting with race 16. I'm looking for us to move up into the top 10 and hopefully into the top 5 and compete for some podium finishes and victories. That's my plan. We'll see how it all works out. And of course, along with better finishes, hopefully, will come better payouts. Now, one thing that will not change is the sponsorship money. We're going to keep this same sponsor for quite a while. In fact, I think the sponsor doesn't run out until like race 34. So we're not going to have to worry about that. Even though it could have turned out in our favor, I am perfectly fine to leave that exactly where it is. So we've got some changes coming with race 16 with the skill spread. Also, we're going to move up our qualifying position. Instead of being dead last, we're going to move it up in the field a little bit so that we have an opportunity to get a little bit higher in the finishing order as well. But all of those changes are coming down the road, just a few races. Now I want to talk to you about a couple of changes that you're going to notice in the actual gameplay itself, starting with today, and we'll just see how it goes as to whether these changes remain or if we go back to the way we were doing things. The first change is going to be Crew Chief. I'm going to start using Crew Chief today. I'm planning on only using the Crew Chief portion and not the spotter. And the reason for that is I'm trying to maintain as low a profile on my CPU as I can, because that is the limiting factor. The graphics card is actually not the limiting factor, believe it or not, with everything we've got going on with VR and the number of cars on the track and so forth. It's the CPU. So I'm trying to limit that. And what I saw from the spotter and Crew Chief was fine, but it's not necessarily better than what I saw from iRacing, from my experience in my limited testing so far. So I'm going to try to leave that option off, and we'll see how it goes with only the Crew Chief option. The second change for today's gameplay is going to be another new app, the iRacing Caution Clock. Now, the Caution Clock gives us a way to have manual cautions on the track other than those that are generated by the iRacing game itself. And the reason I want to test that out is it's not going to be needed in today's race or really any of the super late model races up until possibly the fairgrounds. But the reason I want to try it out now is to get you guys used to seeing it. I'm going to put it in the top right hand corner of the screen, and it's going to count down from 20 minutes so that we'll have caution every 20 minutes of green flag racing. That will be great particularly as we move into the trucks, Xfinity, and so forth, because it'll give us an opportunity to have a full reset on the field, change to refuel, get tires, all of those types of things will be wonderful. Something I've noticed about the AI in iRacing is that they don't handle green flag pit stops all that well. Sometimes they do just fine, but other times not so much. So this will hopefully take care of some congestion and chaos that happens around pit stops and just simply standardize that, allow us to hit the full reset, and then get back together and have some great racing. So that's the plan for some changes we've got today, some new things that we're going to implement. But for now, we're headed to Langley.
Laps. Make them count.
That's right, 50 laps here at Langley Speedway.
11 in the inside column.
There are going to be some quirks that we're going to have to get used to. There's tons of options within the Crew Chief program. You can hear him right there, just telling us some of the pre-race information. So many options within the program. But again, we're going to be using the iRacing spotter and the Crew Chief program only for the Crew Chief, not the spotter part of it, at least for now. So let's see what we get. Now, as far as testing and setup today, we're still using the skill spread that we have been, 60 to 95. There you heard the iRacing spotter. So 60 to 95 at this point at Langley for 50 laps. The setup is essentially the iRacing setup with a couple of changes that I made real quick. I only ran like 3 laps of practice here before we're getting started.
Getting ready here, getting ready.
I do have a few laps at this track where I've done a few tests, but that was back a few years ago, back when this all first came out for the super late models. So we're going into this blind to a large extent. Now the caution clock should be on your screen now in the top right hand corner. It only shows up during the green flag, I believe. And then it resets anytime you have a caution. Alright, so let's hope for a good clean start here. I did reduce the number of AI from 29 to 25.
Stay on the bottom.
That's a change I had planned to make during our move to the truck series. But I decided to go ahead and do that just to reduce the stress a little bit on my PC. Just trying to think of any problems that might happen before we get there and they become huge problems.
Still there. 3 wide. You're on the bottom. Got one outside. Still there. Clear to the top. Outside. Clear to the top.
Alright, so I can barely hear the crew chief, so that's a change I'll need to make. He's giving us our an update on our position every time we make a pass for right now.
Got one outside. Keep low. Clear to the top.
The unique thing about this track is it's all corner. I mean, there's practically no straightaway here. It's just big, wide corners.
Keep digging. You're in the top 20.
P20.
Got one outside. Still there. Clear to the top.
Alright, so far so good. You can see I'm hanging out on the bottom down here, not really
P19.
not really trying to use the entire track.
That lap was a 16.4.
Not terribly worried about lap times. Not during the race, because not really going to help me out a whole lot since I don't spend a lot of time working on setup or anything like that. So he'll say them every once in a while, but I turn down the frequency of those. Looks like we've got Haley Deegan out on the outside right now.
Outside.
See if we can't take advantage.
Still there. Clear outside.
P18.
Now I've got the crew chief set up to focus mainly on what's behind me. So if we have somebody running us down, such as the leader, then I'm hoping that he will use that opportunity to let me know what's going on ahead of me. I can tell. You know, if we are catching the guys in front of me or something like that, I turn down those the frequency of those messages, simply because I can see that a little bit easier. But behind me, I can't tell much of anything. The mirrors don't do a very good job of letting me know that.
Outside. Keep to the bottom. Clear to the top.
There's our friend Derek Thorne again.
Clear outside.
We had a great battle at Gateway. Just at the closing laps were so much fun there because of that battle. And for anyone who might be wondering, I have not gotten to full throttle yet. Been close a few times, but for the most part it has been about half throttle, every once in a while about 3/4 throttle.
P16.
Alright, P16, I didn't even have to look for it. I like it. Yeah, that was about half throttle there, which seems to work pretty well, because the last thing I want to do is upset the rear tires. It's a very short race here, but still, I want to keep those rear tires happy with me. And I think we finally hit on something with the skill spread, and now that we've been running this 60 to 95 for several races now, it's really given us what I was looking for overall.
P16.
Also, something I don't think I have mentioned very often, maybe not at all. Who knows, I might have forgotten to mention it completely.
Clear.
But for anyone who might be leaving comments or something on the videos and wondering why I'm not responding to that within the next videos or making changes, it's because of my recording schedule. There are times where I'll record
16.8.
several of these videos at one time over a few days span, and then they don't get actually uploaded and released onto the channel for several days. So my recording schedule is definitely not the same as the release schedule on the channel. So if you're one of those people that realized early on that Darlington was not going to be usable, just understand that
Stay low.
the recording schedule, it was very quick for the first several of these videos.
That car is
Oh,
not
we
a lead
got
lap
the
car.
two car.
Got one inside.
Apparently has had some
Still there.
contact.
Clear inside.
Car's handling just fine. Again, once you get used to the car,
Outside.
the setup is about the same at most of these tracks. Not a whole lot of changes, especially since you're using
To the bottom. Clear outside.
the same types of tracks over and over again for the most part.
That was halfway.
Okay, Brian, halfway home. Fuel's good. The lap time was 16.8. Barry is leading the race.
Okay, see, that was some good information from the crew chief. Again, what I'm really looking for is what's going on behind me, the number of laps, what lap we're on, that type of stuff. Stuff that I cannot easily
P15.
see. And I would definitely rather have
Got one outside.
both the iRacing.
Still there.
All right, not sure who's to the outside. I'm
Stay on
just
the
going to
bottom.
assume it's for position.
Stay low.
If it is, that's awesome. That they're actually challenging me to pass me, because I have no doubt that some of these
Still
guys
there.
are faster than me. I'm certainly not
Clear
setting a
outside.
blistering pace. Ooh, look out.
Outside. Still there. Keep to the bottom. Clear. $20 to go to strike.
All right, 20 to go. I was really hoping he was going to be more talkative, the crew chief, at this point, based on some of the settings, but he's really not telling me anything behind me, which is what I was hoping for.
Okay, Brian, you're reeling this guy in. The gap's now 0.5.
And right on cue, he tells me about what's going on in front of me. I'm trying my best to be easy on this right front tire and not shove up the track on entry or exit. Not necessarily because I'm trying to save the tires, but because I really don't want to get freight trained. And something tells me that that is a very real possibility. So basically I'm trying to paint this white line as much as possible. And force them to go around me on the outside. And we'll see how that works. We saw at South Boston, that worked for a little while.
That's good consistency. Keep it up.
There we go. There we go. Give me some information. We'll turn his volume up a little bit.
Yellow flag is out.
Just
Line up single file.
16.9.
Pit road is closed.
All right, so we got our first caution. Oh, we got a car stopped. That's what I don't like about the AI. I wish they would clear those out. And that's the only one I see.
17, Chop.
It's the only one I see, but we have seen before that
Top the pipe, Chop.
E14.
but we have seen before that the AI will
Catch
just
up,
stop on the
17,
track
Chop.
sometimes. So I'm trying to sort of look ahead a little bit in the corner.
Pit road is now open.
So again, I'm going to assume that was not the caution clock. Remember, I can't see that during the race. Only you guys can see that. All right, where are we? So 38 of 50. Remember, caution laps do not count. We have that turned off because this is all about green flag laps. So now we're going to get a full reset on the grid where we were right behind the 17 and really couldn't make up any ground on him, and everybody in front of that was just gone. Didn't even see him. And I never really checked the bottom right hand corner of the screen for the standings, which for me requires me to take my eyes off the racing and see it. And never really did that. I had a pretty good idea of where we were. So really, from the crew chief, the one thing that I may look into a little bit more in the options is his chattiness from behind us, because I know we had cars lined up behind us. I just, from what I could briefly see out of the corner of my eye in the mirror, that's the way it appeared. So we'll just have to see. There's a lot of things to configure, and who knows how many changes. I do want to take a crack at maybe adjusting the HUD here. I believe that's something you can do, and probably something I'm going to do.
Tasa 14, Chop. Tasa 84, Chop. Tasa 100. 11, Chop. Tasa 21, Chop. Pit road is closed. Tasa 4, Chop.
All right. This is where I get a little worried with the AI.
11, Chop.
Yeah, we're trying to get all the lap cars
94,
at the back, but with the AI behavior, sometimes this gets me a little bit scared about what they're going to do. All right, are we done? Stay behind. Yeah. Okay, so that wasn't too
Green
bad.
flag, next time by. Line up on the outside.
All right, outside. Nobody out there, I hope. Again, just not a lot of trust between me and the AI on some of these things. I've been bitten before. I've been under caution like this and had the AI run me straight into the wall and flip me over.
Getting ready.
I've had some crazy things happen with the AI. So far so good. Maybe they got a lot of that worked out over the past few updates.
Green, green, green.
All right, so we're on the outside.
Inside. Stay right there. Still there. Clear inside. Inside. Keep high. Keep high.
16th place. That lap time was 17.3.
Still there.
Woo! Tight right now.
That car is a lap down.
We're stuck on the outside.
Keep high. 3 wide, you're the meat. Got one inside. Still there. That car is not a lead lap car. Stay high. 10 laps to go.
17.2.
All right, so these are some of the lap cars coming by now.
Inside. Still there.
But we're still stuck on the
Stay
outside.
right there. Stay right there. That car is not a lead lap car. Stay right there. Clear inside.
All right, there we go. So enough people have passed us
That car is not a lead
until we
lap
can
car.
finally get back in line. All right, I do see some guys running.
Behind's increased to 1.0 seconds.
All right, I think he said from behind. Again, I need to adjust his volume. I did not want him just blaring in our ears for the very first test, so...
P15.
All right, P15, I will take that. I see Sterling up there on the outside. Looks like, oh, is that Bubba Pollard as well? I would really love to get up there and pass those guys. How awesome would that be?
Come on, Brian. Push, push, push. We can catch this car.
There we go.
The gap behind is now 0.8.
That's part of the things I like too. He can get very encouraging, or he can sort of verbally slap you across the face sometimes. Now, we do not have any cussing or swearing on. We have that turned off for obvious reasons. But that is available for those of you who might be interested in being berated by the crew chief from time to time.
2 to go.
Ooh, 2 to go. Oh, we're so close.
The gap ahead is now 0.7. Two to go. The gap behind is now
White flag, 1 more
0.6.
lap to go.
I was looking for that white flag, so we're coming to the white flag. Just wanted to make sure.
White flag. 1 more to go.
All right, trying to get there. It's just so hard to get to make up any time here. Oh, right there. They're right there, and I can't quite get to them. But that is the checkered flag. 50 laps.
P15.
That's the checkered
Okay,
flag.
that's the end. Good finish, mate. Well done.
Bring it on home and let's get out of here.
All right, definitely a difference in happiness level and contentment of the iRacing spotter versus the crew chief app. So that was a lot of fun. We came in 15th position, and I don't really remember very much of any contact that we had
15th
overall.
place. That's it. We're done.
I would have to say that I agree with him. That's it. We are done. Thank you guys so much for joining me, and stick around for more custom career mode and VR gameplay.